Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of BAM with Lori and Jenny. Today, we are so excited to have Cindy Gunderson on our show today. Cindy is amazing. She's a mom of 4 kids, which is just unbelievable to me, which is amazing and badass within itself. But she's also an author and a just amazing woman with so much to share with us today. Cindy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
So nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
Well, we're going to get to all the things, but I wanted to start with so you're an author, an award-winning author, and you write across, is it four genres?
Yeah, I've dabbled in a lot of things and I've kind of honed in on, two major ones.
Okay, tell us
But
about it.
I still move around a lot because that's what my creative brain likes.
Yeah. So tell us the 4 genres that you write in, and then
Sure.
tell the audience a little bit about what's your favorite and how is the process different for each one?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because stories follow similar patterns no matter where you're writing, but genres basically are a series of story beats that has just been proven to be very compelling and emotionally impactful over time. So if you think
Mhm.
about the different genres that you enjoy, they follow similar patterns, but then authors can kind of play with those patterns and make them interesting. And so for me, it's been a study of genre and a study of those patterns and asking why they work and why they're emotionally compelling. So I think my brain really likes that process, which is why I go into these different genres. But I started out not really knowing what I was doing, and I started with sci-fi dystopian because that was something that I loved to read. So I started writing there, and that was great and it was fun. But I quickly realized that I was so excited for the underlying romance beats within that story. And I was like, maybe I actually like writing romance. So I started doing some women's fiction, and so, because I was a literary reader, I read a lot of literary works. And so that the first books that I wrote kind of leaned more literary. They were less plot heavy and they were more introspective and character driven, and which didn't always work well for sci-fi. It was like they're like, this feels like a women's fiction book set in a dystopian future. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. So I wrote some women's fiction and some romance. I did some holiday, clean, sweet and clean romance, just to kind of try it out. And then I got this idea for a hockey romance series.
Which
And
I love because I play hockey. And so
yes,
when I heard she writes hockey romance books, I was like, this is amazing.
yes. Well, I grew up in Canada. I grew up around hockey players. Like hockey is everywhere. And I was like, I could do this. Like I could totally write hockey romance. And so I tried it out, and I still have an amazing critique group, and they were so wonderful helping me kind of work through that, figuring out how to do something different. The first book I would say, is not the best of the series because it was my first try. But they get better, consistently better throughout. And now people are, I've gained a following for that series. So I do
How
hockey
many are in this
romance,
series?
and then, yeah, super fun. And then last year or 2 years ago, I started getting into fantasy romance, which was super fun. So I did 2 series with a publisher. One was more of a dystopian with underlying romance, and then the other one was a full fantasy romance series. And I've continued, and then I got into paranormal fantasy romance last year. So I've just been kind of moving around. I've got a shifter series that's under a different pen name because it's a little steamier, so I didn't want people to get confused. And then I have a vampire romance that's under. So I have three different pen names now, and all these different genres. But that's kind of what I
I
do.
love that about authors and pen names because
It's
it's like
awesome,
this incognito
Right?
identity that
it's your
nobody knows
alter
who you are.
ego.
I
Yeah,
know. Well,
I
it's
love
funny
it.
because some people really keep them totally separate and private, right? And for
yeah.
me, I'm like, I don't really care. The only reason I use a pen name is for algorithms. Like Amazon likes to feed content to the people that
Oh,
purchase on their platform. And if
oh.
somebody is buying my dystopian book and then all of a sudden they're getting sent information on a vampire romance, they're like, what? Right? So using a different pen name helps with that so that people that purchase my Cynthia Gunderson books, my hockey romance, they're going to keep getting my romance stuff. But people that purchase my Cindy Gunderson stuff, they're going to get the sci-fi and fantasy. And yeah. And then the
So
paranormal stuff is under a totally different one.
Right. So it's
Did
not
you?
that secret because it's
No.
funny. My husband has, I think it's an aunt who does like steamy
Yeah.
romance books, and nobody in the family
Yes.
knows what her pen name is. Like, she
Mhm.
literally doesn't, like, they've tried to figure it out and
That would
Yeah.
be
nobody
me.
knows.
That
Yeah.
would totally be me. But yeah,
Yeah.
how many are in the hockey series? How many books are in that
So
hockey?
I'm actually releasing the is it the seventh? Yes, it's the
Oh
seventh
my
book.
gosh.
Like today, it's going to be going up on Amazon, and it won't release for a couple of days, but I'm posting it. I'm finishing formatting that right now. So, yeah, so number 7 will go up. But I actually started a spin-off series that's set in the 90s, which is like the parents of the
Oh my
team.
gosh.
And
How do you keep
so,
this straight? Like, I'm like, how
okay,
do
I have
you keep
tips.
yourself organized?
Yeah, tell
I
Oh
us.
have
my
tips.
gosh.
So I used to use different programs to and like notebooks and whatever, just trying to keep track of everything. Now there's a really cool program called Google Notebook LM,
Yes, it's
and
amazing. I'm
it's
using it
amazing.
too.
Yes, it's amazing. So that's what I use now. It's like my book Bible and it's interactive. So like just today, I was like, wait a second, like what was that administrative like secretary who worked at the rink? What was her name? And it'll pop it up and it'll show me. And it's like a closed system. I know a lot of people are worried about AI, but it's a closed system. It doesn't use it for testing and it doesn't pull from outside sources. It only pulls from the sources that you upload. And so I can upload my books and then ask it questions and it'll feed it back to me. So that is super helpful. I'm sure it'd
Yeah.
be helpful for other industries as well.
It's great for teaching. So
Yes.
Lori, I've been using it for teaching. It's
Oh,
amazing. And students love it. So it's
yes.
really cool.
It's
But
so amazing. It helps me so much.
do you in your brain though, like keeping all of that organized?
Yeah.
Because I have a similar brain where I think about a billion things at one time. And I also have notebooks everywhere. I have stuff on my
Yep.
iPad, stuff, how do you keep things organized in your brain? Or do you just
Oh,
like get them out on the page as soon as possible?
I well, the good thing is that once you write in a series for a while, they become real people to you.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's not about like keeping that information straight because I just know them. It's like knowing your friend and you're like, well, I would never do that because this happened to them when they were growing up and da 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 da. But when I first started the series and I only had 3 books out, that was not the case yet. I
Hmm.
hadn't fleshed out some of those characters as much yet because they didn't have their story. And so actually, I just had a reader. So all of my books are on my YouTube channel for free to listen to. I narrate them and they're all available on YouTube. All the pen names, hence the not secret. Anybody can go there and see
Yeah.
any book that I have. Um, but I had a reader reach out and she was like, wait a second, like in this book, because I did the spin-off series, but I wasn't planning to do the spin-off series when I started the original series. She's like, in this book, the dad's name is different. And I was like, oh crap.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
You
So
changed
I
his
had
name. You changed his
yeah,
name.
yeah. Well, because in that book he wasn't important, right? And then
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
later book he became really important. And so it was so funny. I went back and changed it in the manuscript, but that this week I'm going to be re-recording, just those couple of lines to make sure that it all matches up.
So
So
you
so I try to keep it straight, but still make a lot of mistakes is the answer.
okay, so this is a question specific to your narration, like
Yeah.
you're reading the book. Do you think about the fact that you're going to have to narrate the book when you write the book? And the reason I ask that is because I have a hard time listening to book. I love reading
Yeah.
everything, but I have a hard time listening to books that have like steamy sex scenes in them because I do not want to hear people say like
Yeah.
disgusting, like throbbing, and
Yes.
I'm like, I
Can't do
cannot
it.
hear this person saying that. So I'm just curious how that like plays out.
Yeah, 100%. So all of my books, my hockey romance books are all fade to black. And so you get a really steamy, nice makeout scene, but it's no explicit content because I also don't want to be reading that. And like my kids go on my YouTube channel. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, I don't want, and by the way, YouTube does not allow explicit content. And
Oh,
so for me to be able to post my books there, that's not even an option if I wanted to, but I don't want to. My paranormal romance does have open door scenes, but they're all high level. So people call it like looking through a veiled door.
hmm.
So you know what's happening, but it's focused on the emotional connection between the characters and it's not giving any explicit details. So you know
Okay.
what's happening, but there's no words that I don't want to say.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I definitely think about it. And I just released a course on self narration for authors. Because I think that self-narration is one of the best things that you can do to improve your own writing, because you
Mm.
start to think about things and to beginning, right? And you choose your characters differently. You think about their voice ahead of time, which helps with writing their voice. So I think it's a really powerful tool for authors to be able to do that. And you also change the way you write. Like, for example, you'll see some books where they say like she said, or they'll have a lot of tags, right? I don't use those anymore because it sounds terrible in audio. And
Yeah.
so my writing has changed because of the narration piece. And I think about like the accents that I want to do and the accents I don't want to do.
Yeah.
That's
Okay, that
awesome.
is like a very valuable tip that in fact, I think that like when I'm doing stuff for work or for school or whatever, I like to read it out loud because it helps me
Yeah.
catch mistakes. But I
Yeah.
love that tip on if anybody wants to be a writer, just that one tip I think could really help them.
Yep. Well, and with how expensive it is to produce an audiobook, it's really expensive to hire
Yeah.
a good voice actor and for the mastering and production of it. And now there are all these AI options that are coming out. And so a lot of authors are like, wow, we're going to do that because it's so much cheaper. But I'm like, if reading your book gives you a final last pass for editing and helps with your writing and it produces an audiobook, like I think people would always rather have a human narrated book than an AI narrated book. So you don't have to be perfect at it for it to be a really amazing part of your business, you know? So,
So, Cindy, I do have to ask, with AI and being a writer, like,
yeah.
what does that mean for your industry? What does that mean for you? When I feel like, you can prompt ChatGPT to come up with something obviously that's not as creative or, fascinating as the human mind can create, but
Mhm.
like, it's got to be like, it's out there and it's happening.
Oh,
So
it's
Actually, I
out
haven't
there and
thought
it's
about
happening.
that too.
Absolutely. And it's getting better. You
it's
know,
getting
like
real good.
the first AI voices that came out were terrible and now they're like really good. And same with AI writing. I mean, there are different programs that you can get that have like really advanced programs for writing and plotting. Um, Here's how I feel about it. I think that we have culturally freaked out about every new technological advance. you know and it is a little scary because we have to figure out how to integrate it and how to not sacrifice human creativity and human way of life, when we integrate some of these things into our society. But for me, I just feel like every person has to figure out how they feel good about using these tools. And I do use AI in my business, right? Like Google
Of
LM,
course.
that's
Of course.
AI.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The Notebook LM. And I use different AI programs. Like I do a lot of dictation when I'm writing so that I don't have to sit at my computer, and I use it for transcription. There are times where I'm writing scenes and I'm just kind of stuck. And so I use AI to just brainstorm with me or
Mhm.
whatever, or to help me like get base ideas down, and then it tells me what not to do a lot of the times, right?
Yes.
I'm
Right.
like, well, it's not that. So maybe I'm going to do something
It's
else.
learning how to use it, and I think
Yes.
that's like where I look at it for everything, right? Is
Yep.
we're in a generation that we have this amazing tool,
Yep.
but it's learning how to utilize it and put it into our work, put it into the schools, and
Yep.
make the most of it without it doing everything for us, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Because it does allow me to do more of what I want if I
Yeah.
use it correctly, right? So, yeah, and I'm sure everybody has a different idea of where they feel comfortable, but that's kind of
One
where I'm at.
other one other thought too is I feel like I see more and more that if you're an author, there's a whole package. It's not just the book, it's also the
Yep.
press. It would take a lot for AI to replace all of that. I'm not saying it's not possible, but
Yeah.
I'm I'm taking a class right now on how to use AI in instruction, and there's a book by Ethan Mollick that's fabulous, and it's co-intelligence, and he talks about being the human in the loop.
Yeah.
And so you're talking about you're the human in the loop, right?
Exactly.
And I think if anything, people are going to want to see that human more than ever
Yeah.
because it's becoming not as common.
I totally agree. And that's what I talk about with my narration, for example, where people are like, well, I could never be a good voice actor. I'm like, guess what, though? You're better than AI, you know?
Yeah,
And so there's never been a better time to be a human in the loop because people are craving that connection. And so it kind of takes the pressure off. Like, I think it's actually an amazing time to be exploring these creative things because it's something like you don't have the pressure to be as like perfect as
yeah,
people expected you to be 5 or 10 years ago. Like on Audible 5 or 10 years ago, people expected this like crazy, amazing produced, audiobook or whatever with this amazing award-winning narrator. That's what the expectation was. And now it's not. It's like, I just want a human narrator.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
some people would argue that it's like dumbing down our final products, but at the same time, I think it's also making it much more accessible. So I think pros and cons. I think it will allow for a lot of people to enter creative industries and the arts that never could have before, which is amazing, and allows for accessibility for people that maybe can't read, right? My husband's an optometrist and he sees a lot of people with vision problems that need audio. And so I think that there are a lot of really good things. And then we also have to be careful about, not allowing it to ruin excellence. So,
Yeah. And
No,
if
I
we can
totally
take
agree.
the best of both, that's where we want to be, right?
exactly. That's
Okay.
exactly right.
I know,
Are-
Lori, I know you want to move to her kids, but I
No,
have
I
one.
do. I do. That's where I wanted
I
to.
can tell. But this is like a question I'm dying to know. So
Yeah.
you won awards on your books.
Yes.
So first, I guess there's two questions. First, it said you won an award on your first book. So I'm wondering how many times you drafted or were declined or that kind of thing before that happened.
Yeah, so many times. Especially because my first book, like I look at it and I'm like, it's terrible, because it was my very first thing that I did. But I had a couple of really amazing literary agents that didn't take me on, but they gave me great feedback. And
Okay.
that was super helpful and motivating because I'm like, okay, I have something that I can work with. It's just maybe not perfect yet, which it will never be. But yeah, so I drafted it a few times, submitted it multiple times, got a lot of rejections, and then got involved more with like the indie author community. And so my first trilogy that I published was actually self-published. It was, because I wasn't finding a way into that traditional track. And I'm so glad I did because it allowed me so much learning that I would never have gotten to had I not put it out. So I submitted it for awards, and yeah, it totally won a couple of different awards actually that first year, and then it opened more doors for me, right? It connected me with more people, and then eventually I was able to get a publishing contract with, I think it was like my, I don't know, seventh or eighth book, something like that.
Okay.
And Sydney, how many books have you wrote? Because you've wrote a ton.
I think I'm at like 40.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, this is my other award question.
Yeah.
Is it like the Oscars? Do you get to dress up? Like, is it like a big fancy gala?
So this award that I won, I definitely did dress up a little bit, but it was totally in a bar. It was like in the back room of a really cute pub.
I love it.
But they had a banner, and it was fun. We got to go up and take pictures, and I got like little gold stickers to put on my book, and it was really fun. So it was like a Colorado award. But then one of my women's fictions book won it was a national award for the state of Colorado. So it won the best like adult fiction book in Colorado. So that one was really cool. And they did have a gala, but at the time my kids were a little bit younger. It was out like in Chicago or something. And I was like, I don't think I can make it happen. But it was really fun to win the award. So,
okay, one more book question, and then I am going to go to your kids because you have 4 kids, and
I
I'm
love
just like
it.
dying to hear about them. So with like audio versus like hardback, like are you where's the sales? Where are the sales? I would assume the audio versus the hardback is doing
100%.
better.
And I think for me, even more than other authors, maybe because I have built my business on my narration. So I have a lot of social media channels. I do a lot of stuff on TikTok, and then obviously have that YouTube channel. So a lot of people that come into my brand are coming because of me, because of my voice. And so I would say that probably 60% of my sales are audio at this point through like Chirp, Audible, YouTube, my direct sales website. A lot of people buy my audiobooks just from me directly, which I love. And I actually include like extra author notes and deleted scenes and bonus scenes on my website.
That's why
that you
I love
can't
audio, because a lot
Yeah.
of authors do that in audio. I love it.
It's super fun. So yeah, I do a lot of audio sales. I think the industry in general, audio, I mean, I talk about this in my course as well, that it's like the biggest booming segment of publishing is audio. And so it's only going to get bigger as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, lots of audiobook sales.
Totally makes sense. Okay, let's talk about your kids. You have four of them.
Yes.
And they're 19, 17, 13, and 11. And out of these four, three are boys. Are all the older ones boys?
All the older ones are boys. My daughter is 11.
Oh my gosh. So let's hear about them growing up, you juggling. I'm not quite sure how many years ago it was that you got into writing, but how you were able to do it all. How did
Yeah.
you juggle it?
Well, it's interesting because for years we homeschooled. So we homeschooled until my oldest son was in high school. And we did that because my husband has a job where he works on Saturdays. And it wasn't like a problem with the school system or anything. It was just, we need family time. And Sundays is like, it's a religious day for us. And Saturdays he was working. And so we wanted time to be able to go skiing or to travel or whatever. And so we decided to try homeschooling, and it was really great. It was really awesome. So we did that for a while. That meant that I had to be really careful with my time because it can just get absolutely sucked up, right? But at that time, I wasn't writing until 2019. That was the year that I first put out a book. And before that, we were doing a lot more theater. So Scott and I did some musical theater here locally, and my kids did some plays with us. Like we did To Kill a Mockingbird, and both of our older boys and my husband and I were in it locally. We got into acting, so both of my kids did. My oldest did a show on Fox. My second oldest son did a movie, a nationwide movie. So it was Paul's Promise. It released nationwide, which was so cool to go and see him in the theaters. So we were doing a lot of stuff like that. So it was storytelling, but it wasn't writing. But a lot of that stuff is so disruptive. Like you're having to do auditions at the drop of a hat. When my kids did those shows, we had to immediately leave, and go shoot within 2 days of finding out that they got the role. And so it became really disruptive to our family. And I think my boys especially were like, we just want to have normal childhoods. Like we don't want to have to jump on an audition all the time and have to memorize lines. And it just became more high pressure than they wanted. So it was right around that time, like I started writing because I still felt like I needed this creative outlet. And the boys kind of decided they wanted to go to high school and do the normal kid thing. And so we just transitioned as a family into something different. But I will say the only way that I was able to release any books up until all of my kids were in school was that my husband did all of the work from 5 o'clock until 11. And
Wow.
I wrote, and that was my time because during the day I wasn't available to do that. So he did dinner, he did bedtime, he did everything so that I could write. I never would have been able to do that without a supportive partner.
So
Wow,
did
that's
you
awesome.
focused all your writing in those blocks so you could have family time?
Yep.
Was that hard for you? Or
Yes.
did you just adapt?
Yeah, it's funny. My husband and I were just talking about this a couple of weeks ago that like trying to figure out when the best creative time is for my brain because
Yeah.
it's really a thing. Like you kind of have to be in the right mindset to be able to create things at the same time. I didn't really have the flexibility to do that. I had to work within the time that I had. So I think it was kind of a benefit to me because I had to learn to force myself to start putting words on the page. And eventually, sometimes it would take me longer, but I could get into it. And now it's actually like my preferred writing time is at night because of that. I think my brain kind of learned
Conditioned.
to work that way. Yeah. But now
Okay,
it's a
that's
problem
promising.
because what?
That's promising to know that you can train yourself like
Yeah.
that.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Necessity, right? Necessity is the
Yes.
mother of invention.
Yes.
It's a problem now though, because now I have teenagers and they want to hang out at night. And so
Hmm.
now trying to get work done in the morning is actually difficult for me. The writing stuff, I can like do marketing or audiobook narrating or anything like that anytime, but the actual physical creative writing is hard for me in the morning. So I'm still trying to figure that out. I haven't figured out a perfect system yet.
So
Yeah.
with all four of your children, you were saying your two older sons definitely into, the arts and acting. What about the other two?
Yeah, the younger kids are totally into it too. So,
Awesome.
my third son just finished playing Troy Bolton in High School Musical, and he also played young Tarzan. And my older son played Tarzan in a musical. They just finished that. My daughter just played JoJo in Seussical. I direct children's theater here in Brighton, and so she was a part of those shows. So yeah, we still do a ton of theater and performing. They perform all the time. My 17-year-old performs, like he does the national anthem at like the
Oh,
swim
wow.
meets and stuff like that, just
Oh my
they're performing
gosh.
all the time. So it's still very much a part of our lives, but it's not as serious. We're kind of doing the more fun stuff.
So you're 19-year-old. So is there college and is one away at college, or
Yeah.
what's the landscape there?
Yeah, totally. So he is an interesting story because when he was in high school, he actually really struggled. It was right over COVID.
Hmm.
And over COVID, he started really struggling with mental health and dropped into pretty severe drug and alcohol addiction, which was so hard for us. My husband and I are very health focused and never thought that we would have to deal with something like that with our kids. And so, um, for a couple of years there, it was really difficult just trying to figure out how to help him, how to keep him alive,
Yeah.
how to help him manage the things that he was trying to self medicate. And I am like so amazingly proud of him because we found an incredible group. And I'll just give a plug for this if anybody out there is
Sure.
struggling with these same issues, because it was really hard for us to find resources. There's a group called Full Circle in Denver, and they are actually nationwide. They're in 6 different states, I think, at this point, and continuing to grow. It's called it's Full Circle, but it's a enthusiastic sobriety community for teens and young adults. And they saved our kid. Like, we had him in rehab, and that was kind of a first step. And then we found Full Circle, and they were just incredible. It's a free service. You go in, and there are four meetings a week and functions on the weekend and all of this amazing stuff. You can go in and look more if you're interested. But yeah, so that was a long journey and a lot of like emotional and connective work that we needed to do with him as parents and as a family. And it was a really incredible process. And in fact, it impacted my writing. Since that process, I've written 2 different books with characters that were in recovery because we did that as a family. And so we have like in-depth knowledge of it. And it's such a powerful, brave, incredible process. And so, yeah, so he ended up dropping out of high school because he didn't feel like he could stay sober there. He got his GED, and then he went to community college and got such amazing grades that he got a scholarship at CU Denver. So he's at CU Denver now, which
Great.
is so amazing. And he's figuring out his life and just doing great
That's
things. He's working in
that's
the
what we
sobriety
hope.
community and helping other kids and sponsoring kids. And so it's been really cool.
I wish that outcome for all the kids that are dealing with this. But that leads me to one other thing that I was thinking about. Has writing about different characters given you empathy for
Yeah.
people? And the reason I ask is
Yeah.
because we have like we don't know everybody's past. And so we might be pissed off at somebody but not understand all the stuff that goes behind like comes behind that.
Yep.
So I'm just curious how that has impacted you.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that is why arts are so important, right? Like whether it's theater, whether it's movies or even TV, I mean, like, and especially books, because I think anytime we can put ourselves in somebody else's shoes and see their story from the beginning, I really believe that everybody is doing the very best that they can with the information and the knowledge and the skills that they have. And so even people that are making really crappy decisions, like it's not because they want to be, it's just where they're at. And so, yeah, I write a lot of characters that have some severe issues in their life, but we see the beauty and the humanity in it. And also, I think that's one of the reasons I love writing romance too, is because love heals. And whether it's romance or friendship, or like the book that I wrote that won the Indie Author Award in Colorado was a book called Yes and it's a story about a 90-year-old woman or like an 80-year-old woman and a 21-year-old neighbor. So 2 generations that are very misunderstood.
Was this a romance between them?
Nope, no,
Okay.
women's fiction. Friendship. But like there was a woman that I knew that had dementia and was really struggling in her 80s, and she ended up passing away, and she was a lady that I had lunch with on a regular basis. And so I wrote that story because like she was very misunderstood with some of the things that she was doing. A lot of people thought that she was crazy and rude, right? And then we have these millennials that people have all these opinions about, but they're both like coming from these really amazing places. And it was just a cool story to write. So yeah, tons of empathy, tons of compassion comes through storytelling, whether you're writing it or consuming it. And I think it's just so important to participate in the arts for that reason. Like playing a character on stage, same thing. creates
Yeah.
empathy.
So I have a tough question, or maybe it's not a tough question. What is a book that you have read that wasn't your own that has really just like made an impact on you, that, you know, either it has inspired you or, you know, has been something that really kind of changed you?
Oh my gosh. So that's only a tough question because there are so many,
Yeah.
so many. And I would say like I could break that down into 1,000 different categories of like this impacted my writing, or
Mm-hmm.
this impacted me emotionally, or this impacted me in a way that it troubled me and made me really think about different issues. One of the ones that I think, most recent ones that I read that I can think of is None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. It's an unreliable narrator, which is one of my favorite tropes, I guess, to read, because um, I think it just made me really delve into what we know about ourselves and what we don't. So, what we are aware of, what we're not aware of, how other people see us versus how we see ourselves. Really cool story. And by the end of it, you have to make your own decision about what you think actually happened, right? And
Yeah.
I love books like that too, that make you think about, yeah. So the writing was incredible, the story was incredible, and just it still sticks with me. I still think about it all the time.
I love that. That's cool. So we've talked about a lot of stuff, but I want to know, to this point, you've obviously done a lot of amazing things, but what are you most proud of?
Hmm. I would say I'm most proud of the relationships that I have with my husband and my kids. I think that, especially with everything we went through it as a family, there was a time where we didn't know if we were ever going to have a relationship with our oldest son again, because he didn't seem very interested, you know? And the fact that we could come through that with honesty and compassion and um, faith, you know, to like work with each other and trust each other, I think is like the biggest accomplishment. So I think that's what I'm most proud of.
It's awesome.
That's perfect. Okay, so what are you most excited for?
Mm. Well, right now I have a Kickstarter running for my fantasy romance. It's the second book in my vampire romance series. And I do these special editions. So they're like rainbow foil and sprayed edges and ribbon bookmarks and full color art, which, by the way, my 17-year-old son does for the series. He's an
Oh my
incredible artist.
gosh.
Yeah. So, and it's funny because when I put out the first book, he's like, "Don't tell people that it's me that's doing it." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, but if it funds and if it does well, then I'm going to tell everybody, right?" And so I did, and people just love the art. He's so talented. So that's what I'm most excited about right now. Is like, of course, this next hockey book's so exciting. Also, this beautiful special edition that I'm putting out is just so fun. I love
I
it.
can't wait to read the hockey books.
Yes.
So well, it's funny too because I just assumed your kids played hockey and
Nope.
none of them play.
None of them play. We
Did
actually
you
play
ever
more
play?
pickleball than hockey.
Cindy, did you ever play hockey being growing up in Canada?
Well,
Or
I mean, I did figure skating. So I did
okay,
figure
Okay.
skating and I spent a lot of time at the rink when I was a kid and went to a ton of hockey games with friends, but I didn't ever play hockey. But
I have to ask you: is there a romance book about a figure skater and a hockey player?
you know, there's not,
Ooh.
well, not mine. There's a very famous hockey book, hockey romance book that is about a figure skater and a hockey player. But hockey romance is traditionally very smutty. So it's like real intense. Lots of sex
Yeah.
scenes, very explicit. So I actually, when I first got into the genre, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be successful because people, this is what it is, and I'm not going to write that. And so I wondered if it was even going to sell. So I'm grateful that I've been able to find a space for it. But my hockey romance series is actually about a 30 plus hockey league in
Oh.
Canada. And so it's all these guys that either played in the NHL or, you know, didn't get to play in the NHL because of injuries or whatever, that have this competitive league in Alberta. And so it's super fun because they're older, but they still have this incredible like brotherhood, found family type of thing going on. And yeah, so it's a little different.
You probably found the people that were like, I like the hockey part, but God, would you stop with all the like sex
Yes.
scenes? So you
Yes.
probably found your own niche. But
Yes.
I was not aware. I learned something new that there is a hockey romance genre. Had no
Yes.
clue.
Oh, it's huge.
Amazing.
Yes. It's
I
huge.
love
It's
it.
really popular. So, yeah, and I understand why. Like
Yeah.
hockey is a really exciting sport and the guys that play hockey like there's just this mentality of like honor and respect and brotherhood and like how can you not get on board with men, with that have that mentality? It's very sexy. So
Love it.
so I think it's pretty fun.
So one more question.
Yeah.
So when you're not writing books or, doing all the other things, what do you and your family or you specifically do to kind of relax or,
Yeah.
treat or spoil for yourself to kind of take a break?
Yeah. So my husband and I really enjoy playing sports. So we actually captain an ultimate frisbee team up in Longmont. So we do that once a week. That's like a date night for us. We go and play. We have it tonight actually. And then we also play pickleball.
Oh,
So
fun.
we go and play pickleball together most days, whether it's like in a more competitive league or just for fun. So those are huge breaks for me. I think getting physical activity and allowing your brain to just like disconnect from everything else and lose yourself in a game, like that is the best break that I could ever have, especially because my brain is always running really fast. And so sometimes it takes a physical outlet for me to feel like I've actually relaxed, which is maybe weird. But like sitting and watching TV or something like that, I don't always feel relaxed after. I feel like my brain is actually like more crazy. So yeah, going out for a really good meal is something we love to do too. Just going to a great restaurant, traveling for us. Like we just took our kids to Europe for the first time. That was amazing. So yeah, we definitely don't sit still a lot.
Yeah.
But it's all things that allow for a very full life.
That's
I
awesome.
love it. Where'd you go in Europe? I have to know.
Yeah, we went to London and Paris. So we
Oh,
took the kids to London and then took the train to Paris. It was just like a quick spring break trip, but we hit most everything, which was so fun.
amazing. I could go. I love it so much
Yeah.
there. It is
Oh,
so fun.
it's such a blast. Yeah. I went to Paris last year for research for my vampire book because it's like a gothic
Uh-huh.
romance set in like ancient Gaul, which is where France eventually became for one of the books. It's kind of like a time travel reincarnation series. And so there's one that's in ancient Gaul, but then like 1800s France. So we went and looked at all the castles. We went up to Mont Saint Michel, which is where the vampire coven lives in my book and went down to castles in the Loire Valley. And so it's so cool. When I did the Kickstarter, I have an option where it's like a notated book that you can purchase and or like back support on Kickstarter. And so I did a couple of those and it was so cool to be able to be like, this is the inspiration for this scene. Like you can go and look at pictures online because this is the
That's so
castle.
That's
fun.
So it's
awesome.
cool.
I love that. Okay, so how do people get your books, listen to your audio? Can you give them all the
All the
the
things.
sites? Yeah, all the
Yeah.
things.
Yes. So you can really find my books and audio anywhere. I mean, if you just Google Cindy Gunderson, it'll be tons of links right there. But I always encourage people to buy direct because it allows for, I mean, it's better for me as an author. I make more when people purchase direct from my store. So that's awesome. But it's also better for them because they get more perks. They get more of those extra things that we were talking about. So and it allows for that relationship, which I love. When people purchase on Amazon, totally awesome. Love it. I get that it's super convenient. But I don't get to connect with those readers unless they then come to my website at some point. So, yeah, so through my website is great. I also offer all of my audio for free on my YouTube channel because I just really believe in accessibility and having availability, like story availability. So people can listen there ad free. You can get it on my website at a discount, and I have a lot of different bundles. But yeah, it's available on all the platforms. The only series that is not available everywhere on ebook is my Wolf Shifter series. So the pen name for that is Luna M. Rose. And that was kind of a joke between my husband and I because they were like, we're going to go all in on the shifters, we gotta go mood and we gotta go like romance.
Yeah.
So that series is in Kindle Unlimited. So the only place that you can get the ebooks is on Kindle Unlimited, but the paperbacks and the audio are available everywhere.
Awesome. That's so awesome. Cindy, amazing. I don't even know. Your brain, I'm so fascinated. I don't even know how how it works, but it's amazing. I look forward to reading your books, especially your hockey romances.
Oh yeah. I think I
It's
need to
right up
send you.
my
I
alley.
think when we talked before, I was going to send you one. I don't know if I did. So I need to send it to you.
Yes, I have not gotten around to it yet, but
Okay.
you did send it. Yep.
I did. Okay, perfect.
I
Awesome.
got
At
it.
least I didn't drop the ball because that
No,
happens a lot.
you did not. You did not. But thank you so much. We really appreciate having you on the show, and it's been
Yes,
so lovely to learn more about you and your family. And yeah, look forward to continuing to follow your journey.
absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, you guys.
Thank you.